Now that we know all of the key information, we will move on to our forecasting app. Before we can go into the forecasting app, we will give an overview of the program line we'll be using. In the forecasting app, we will use the same example program line to highlight the differences between each type of forecasting calculation. This will be a 10% fixed rate program line. Our default phasing for the example program line, which will represent the seasonality we are expecting, can be seen here. In our example program line, we have a baseline turnover of £1,200, which, as you can see, has been apportioned based on the default phasing. This will be the initial forecast for each forecast. Although you can forecast for program lines which have any start and end date, our example program line begins in January and ends in December. Now let's go into our forecasting app. To access the forecasting app, you will need to go to the chosen trading partner. In this example, we have chosen Drystone. You will then need to choose the trading program and the program line you would like to forecast. The program line we are using for each example is this 10% fixed rate program line, which has a baseline value of £1,200 and therefore a forecasted earnings of £120. Once the forecasting app has been configured for you, a forecasting tab can be found when editing a program line. When we go to the forecasting tab, you can see the program line summary, total spend, phase spending, and different graphs for analysis. If you have been given access to edit forecasts, you will see an edit forecast button at the top. If you click on this, you will be able to change the method used to forecast. You will be able to change the total spend and the phase spend amounts. You will need to enter a comment in the notes area and then save the configuration for it to change. The first method we will look at is the preserve total forecasting method. On the graph on the left, you can see the green bars. This is our initial forecast. These are the same green bars that were shown previously in our example program line. If we look here, we can see that our actual spend for January, February and March were in fact double what we expected. In January it was £120 when we expected £60, and in February and March it was £240 when we expected £120. As we are using the preserve total spend forecasting method, our total spend of £1,200, which we initially stated, has not changed. By looking at the yellow bars, which is our current forecast, we can see that the future phasings have changed. The future phasings have lowered from our initial forecast to account for the extra spend in January, February and March. The extra spend has been deducted from the future months to allow the total spend to stay the same. If we scroll down to the phase spending, we can see that the phase spendings have lowered. Now we will look at the preserved phase spending method. We are using the same program line, as you can see from our initial forecast. Our actual spends have also stayed the same. As we chose preserve phase spending, if we look at the current forecast, we can see that all the future months are still forecasted to be the same as that initial forecast, but our total spend has changed and increased from £1,200 to £1,500 because our actual spend has increased by £300. Preserve phase spending will adjust the total whilst keeping the set phase spending the same. As we can see here, due to the total spend increasing, our forecasted earnings have also increased to £150 as opposed to the £120 which we had forecasted previously. The last method we will look at is the automatic forecasting method. As the actual spend was double what we were expecting for January, February and March, all of the future forecasts have now increased and are also forecasted to be double what the initial forecast said. For example, in April, our initial forecast was forecasted at £60, but the current forecast is now £120. We can also see our total spend in the initial forecast, which was £1,200, has also doubled and is now £2,400, resulting in our forecasted earnings doubling to £240.